Sorry, I had shut down the machine when I was out.
Well, I'm pressing the button, so
no, don't press the button. No,
so we're now we're live, man.
No.
Hey, folks, you are listening to episode 360 of Geeks in Space. I am your host, Rob Commander Taco Malda. I have disabled the slides, and I am here today with a host of lovely friends. Chris, Rob, Nate, would you like to say hello?
Hey, guys.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Did everybody have a fine holiday weekend?
It was a holiday weekend?
I sat indoors.
Oh, it's July 4th.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Nate.
I sat indoors in my tent, experienced high humidity and rain, and thought about how great America is.
Were you at Glastonbury Music Festival or something? Where were you in a tent?
I was in a small campground between Plymouth and Ann Arbor, Michigan.
Okay, not Plymouth, Rhode Island.
No,
okay.
Plymouth, Michigan.
Okay, well, that makes a lot of sense.
Yes.
I just watched a lot of things explode, including my air conditioning unit. So that was my weekend.
Bad weekend.
I don't want to get political, but I want to get political for like 2 seconds here. When I was a boy, growing up in Washington, D.C., we used to go down to the mall, and I would go to the Lincoln Memorial, and I would walk into the reflecting pool, and the ooze and the scum and the algae would go into my toes, and I would watch from literally the center, sort of front of the reflecting pool, and fireworks would go off, and it was glorious. And you can't do that anymore because our current administration doesn't want normal people anywhere near the cool parts.
Freedom from the feet up. That's what that was. You felt the freedom between your toes.
I did, man. It was glorious and a celebration of our nation.
I don't know how much money you would have to pay me to walk into the reflecting pool. That water did not look good to me. But I did.
It's not good. It's super, super gross. But it's actually clean scum water. You know, I mean,
but don't you think kids today get free tank rides?
It's not clear that they do. I think you have to enlist to get that.
You have to be a senator's son.
And you saw, I don't know if you saw DC is basically underwater. Right? I mean, it's like under 3 inches of water along Constitution Avenue.
Eek.
Well, it is a swamp, so.
I know, right?
No, they drained it.
Oh, it's all drained.
They drained it. That's Trump's whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, they literally drained it too, but that's beside the point.
It was under construction for like the first year that I was living there, and it was like the saddest thing to see, the big drained pool. But I saw the fireworks from the Washington Monument once. It was really, really cool, and every human being should do that once.
Yeah. If you're allowed to, you know, if you can get past the fence.
Yeah, sure. Man. Spider-Man? Who saw it?
I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it? Because you saw it, Rob.
Not me. Not me.
I was actually debating going to try to see it again today on the IMAX screen, but that requires convincing my children to go see a movie for a second time, which is really, really hard.
I heard it was good. Why don't you just tell us if it was good? Don't spoil it. I understand it has a man who acts like a spider.
Yeah, he thwips. I don't know if you're aware of the thwipping. Yeah. There's a lot of that.
Does he do the things a spider can?
He does, actually, several times. No, it's solid. It feels like middle of the pack Marvel. It doesn't.
It's a baby Marvel, right?
Marvelette.
Well, no, they call them baby something. Yeah.
Marvel minis.
Yeah, no, they actually use the word baby at Disney. You know, so for the ones like the Ant-Mans and.
You mean like the Marvel babies, like
no, not like a Marvel babies, but like. Yeah, they had a word for it. I'll find it.
They have the tent poles, and then they have the lesser characters. Although I mean, it's making mad bank, and it should. It's solid. They did a good job. There's a couple of really, really cool surprises that I won't play here. And the big thing is that as a coda for Endgame, it's really effective. I read somewhere that it's a love letter to Tony Stark, and that's a good way to put it. There's a lot of really cool tribute stuff throughout the movie to Iron Man.
I thought Peter Parker just lucked out in that, you know, he built the spider shooters and he doesn't shoot silk out where a normal spider does, because those movies would be totally different if he was flying around by his ass in New York City, you know.
Well, it's technically a spinneret. The anus is above the spinneret. So just wanted to point that out.
Well, that was
Actually,
always
it's
my
below.
fundamental flaw with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, is that he somehow grew the things on his wrists.
Yeah,
Like,
he
okay,
had
if you're going to
spinners
take
there.
away Spider-Man's nerd thing, I mean, Peter Parker being a nerd is kind of like core to Peter Parker's character. If you're gonna do it, fine, but it's not shooting out of the wrists.
No, it's not. It goes anus, spinneret, then oviduct, and then which is the spider penis. So,
I'd even accept mouth.
yeah. Well,
Although
no, the
that would
mouth
be
is
actually-
way up. That's
Can you imagine the special effects?
That's up ahead of his sucking stomach. Come on, dude.
So Nate, you put up a good link summarizing all of the various game subscription services that are coming out in the next year or so.
Yeah, I mean,
That was a long article.
It was a long article. It's from Gamma Sutra. They like to hear themselves talk.
Well, I mean, it's a good site.
Yeah, but it was good because it kind of went into both like a survey of what's out there, which I will admit I was a little behind on. Like, I knew about Stadia and I knew about like Xbox, but I didn't realize that it's part of a big wave. Like, Apple's got one coming. They're all kind of emerging now, and I did like that it went kind of straight to like, what does this mean for your non-AAA games? Because your AAA games, like, they probably are still going to just sell direct, and maybe they get put on 18 months into their sales cycle. Other games that are sort of indie titles and stuff, what does this mean for their monetization? Because like with Spotify, I mean, I believe it's fair to say pretty much if you're not Taylor Swift, you don't make any money off recordings anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about that too, because like right now I have a stack of maybe 5 or 6 AAA games sitting on my coffee table, half of which I finished, half of which I'm like 3 hours into, and maybe I'll go back to Persona, maybe I'll go back to Witcher, but like, whatever. I feel like, Nate, you were suggesting the family cooking game that you've mentioned that several times.
Overcooked. Yep.
What's it called?
Yeah, and like, that's a great example of a game where I'm probably never going to get around to playing it, because it means that I have to remember which system it's on, sign in, figure out how to get Wii Bucks or whatever the Nintendo currency is. So if I want to play that game right now, it would probably take me upwards of 20 minutes just to create the necessary accounts and figure out how to couple my credit card to the system. Oh, that reminds me, my copy of Mario Maker 2 should arrive in the mail today.
Ooh,
you get games in the mail.
I do.
It's almost as if you have no bandwidth where you live.
It's not even that. It's that I want a physical object that I can use to bribe my children with. If it's a download,
I have to tell you, really early on, this is after Franny had sort of grown up a bit, but before my son Laszlo was growing up, someone said to me, the best thing about tablets, what's that? You can take it away from them, and it's not the end of the world, but it is for them. And I'm like, oh yeah, because it's like I'm sort of a big believer in timeouts. I'm not a hitter or whatever, and it's like,
good job, 2019, Chris DeBona.
Chris no longer believes in kicking children when they're down.
Just rub them down with pumice. That was
no.
Have you soaped their mouths for swearing?
I've literally never hit a child, and I couldn't. Man, that's not who I am. Anyway, but the point I'm making is that you have to have a good punishment that the kids are convinced is just the end of the world. Like, this is why timeouts are great. It's like, so tell me, how is it bad that I'm locking you? Well, I'm holding you in your room somehow, or telling you have to stay in your room for 5 minutes. That's where all your stuff is. But they think it's awful because you're like, well, it looks like you need a timeout. And they're like, no. And you're like, yes. And
in my house, what has become the ultimate, so we have how many hours they're allowed of screen time. And I've got my kid uses my old iPad. And so I can remotely adjust the number of minutes that he has left at any point in time. And so there's the punishment of you will lose this thing right now. But then also there's the punishment of instead of it turning off at 8:30, it turns off at 8:20 or 8:10 or 8 o'clock.
Dad.
So that's great because that actually requires them, 3 hours later to revisit their crimes against humanity. It's like, why is my iPad turning on off at 8:10? And it says, well, you shouldn't called daddy a butthole.
Yeah. Definitely. No butthole.
But I mean, that's why I like physical media for a game, because I can physically hand it to them and I can physically take it away if the crimes warrant it. I don't know if I mean, I'll probably end up subscribing to one of these services, but my terror about them is that we're going to end up with the video game services exactly the same as we are now with the TV services.
Totally going to happen. You're going to wind up needing to have 6 streaming services and paying $80 a month in subscriptions in order to play the games you want.
I mean, we're virtually there right now. So
yeah. Well, it's funny because we used to fight. Back in the old days, we used to fight for a la carte cable. I can't believe I have to pay for ESPN Ocho to get
never watched
HBO,
Home and Garden.
And then now we're old people and we have Netflix and HBO, and we're paying individually for each. And
I would still be okay with the state of where things are, but if you are a baseball person, you are in a especially bad place.
Can't you just pay for the MLB subscription?
So I do pay for the MLB subscription.
You're into sport ball.
So. No, I'm into baseball and only specifically the Tigers. And since they suck this year, I've only watched, like 10 games this year. But
you're a fair weather fan, huh?
That's right. Because of the regional blackouts, I have to watch it over cable. I can't use the MLB until after the game is over. So if I want to watch a live game, I must pay a tax to Comcast.
Let me ask you something. Can you watch it over the air? Can you just get
because it broadcasts only. It broadcasts only on Fox Sports 1 or Fox Sports Detroit, which is exclusively carried by Comcast.
So
okay, but wait. Do you have laws in your region that Comcast has to provide a signal, not of the cable stations, but of the local stations on their cable, even if you shut down?
I have had HD antennas over the years, but they still don't broadcast those games. And were I to that's literally the only reason I keep my cable. I mean, I could half my cable bill by just having it be internet only. But then I lose baseball, and at least I can then sign in with the 38 random apps, so my kids can log into Disney Now. And let me tell you, there is a 12-hour tirade on the varying qualities of the different television apps and their rules and their authentication system. It is a friggin' nightmare.
Yeah.
So the Detroit Lions have a rule that's similar to that, but it's based on attendance.
Yeah. Wait.
How many times that happens?
Wait. So there's a tiger and a lion.
Yeah. The Bears are in Chicago.
Baseball, or is that like a football team?
That's a football team, Chris. Come on.
Is that like rugby a team? Do you have like a Liger rugby team, or like a Puma? Do you have Puma for like highlight?
We have Lions and Tigers, but the Bears are in Chicago.
Listen, I love big cats. Who doesn't love big cats? Right. So you got Lions, you got Tigers. We have a Jaguars. Are they like your basketball team?
And we have
the old Atari video game system.
Well, just saying.
Well, yeah, the Lions. What's their rule? I can't remember if there's no attendance, they don't broadcast the game.
Yeah, it was attendance.
Wait, what? So they have an attendance-based broadcast?
Yeah,
if they don't want people to not come.
It used to be if they didn't sell out the bottom section, they wouldn't play the game because they thought it looked bad to have a whole bunch of empty seats.
Well, if they would just stop losing like losers lose, then they wouldn't have this problem.
Well, that's true, but
isn't the draft supposed to fix this? Like when you're a super sucky team, you get like first pick or something?
Theoretically, but you can trade all those away.
Every sport has determined that there's no value in being in the middle of the pack. The only value is to either make the playoffs or lose every single game. Because if you lose every single game, you get draft picks. So if you're in the middle of the pack, it's bad for you economically.
Well, so
every sports league is doing this.
Yeah, so like that Moneyball book came out, and then everyone's like, "Yeah, but didn't they keep on losing? Didn't they keep on sucking?" And so I hear these stories about sports economics and the rest, and I'm like, how does this make any sense or money?
Oddly enough, it makes a lot of money. Not like, okay, so I really only know baseball, but like baseball's weird because the longer you play, the more money you get paid, but the less likely you are to be as valuable. Like the player in their 30s is less valuable than a good player in his mid 20s, but you have to pay him 10 times more. There's so many weird economic things that are being overturned by all the analytics.
Yeah, no, it's funny because like in television shows, every season that goes by, you get paid a little more.
Right. That's why no shows make it past season 7.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's really true. I remember I got paid $200 on season 1 of season 2 of a thing I helped with, but by season 5, I'm getting like $800, and it's just like I'm like, but I'm not doing it anymore. And they're like, no, these are the rules. These are the rules. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, that's why, like, you talk about a show like Stargate, right? I was just watching a thing about that, and Stargate. Right, but it had all those spin-offs and all of those.
Yeah,
the reason for that is that it's exactly what you're describing. Is that after like 5 seasons, you've given everybody so many raises that you basically have to do a spin-off show in order to remain economically viable.
Wow. Well, I mean, I tried to save Universe and I failed, so I couldn't get anyone to pick it up here. So, but yeah,
you did your best, Chris.
Yeah, I like that show.
I put a good link for a grocery store that was trying to shame people. Did you look at this one?
I saw that. That was so funny. So
their plastic bags said things like "into the weird adult video emporium," and they had the Colon Care Co-op, and they were putting all these ridiculous things on their plastic bags to get people to bring their own bags. And people are now collecting the bags. They're coming in and buying things just to get their bags.
Yeah, they really didn't think that one through. Like all they have to do is go on the internet for 10 minutes, and they would see, oh, people are just going to collect these.
That's just
it's kind of ridiculous. I'm looking at the. They're like, hey, there's over 285,789 plastic bags used, blah, blah, blah. Therefore, you should. No, wait, more. We use every minute. Oh, over 1 million plastic bags are used every minute. I don't know where they get their numbers.
Plastic bags are bad, though.
I guess.
They are bad, but nowhere near.
No, I mean, yes, they're clearly bad, right? But,
Yeah, nowhere near as bad as microplastics.
Sure.
Yeah, those little abrasives. Use pumice like a good person.
I will say, straws are really bad for the environment too, right? But those paper straws that they give you in some restaurants make me angry.
Yeah, I just de-straw myself instead of using a cardboard straw. I don't want to taste.
I have noticed that in a lot of restaurants now, they don't give the adult straws, but they still do give the kids straws.
Yeah, and they'll use the biodegradable plastic straws.
50 years in a landfill rather than 500.
Yeah. I don't know. So someone here at work buried the biodegradable forks and then came back to it like 3 years later, and there was no biodegradation. So I'm like, do you have to have the presence of UV light for it to really break down? I don't know.
Hell,
only for hot composting, maybe.
The landfill in our hometown of Holland, years ago, they had to move part of it because it was too close to a park, and it was contaminating the groundwater. So when they dug it up, they found papers from 1911 with print you could still read.
Wow.
Because if you just stack that stuff right on top of each other and there's no room for bacteria to get in, it'll stay good for 100 years,
Yeah.
It's a time capsule.
You really need to shred it.
Did you guys see? So there's somebody who's been remodeling or restoring one of the old Apollo guidance computers.
Oh no, that's Ken Sheriff. He is so brilliant.
Ken Sheriff is the real deal, man. But he's got these YouTube clips that are going up like 10 or 15 minutes at a pop, and they've just been stepping through. But his story right now, they tried to get it to mine Bitcoin hash.
Yeah, and it was 10 seconds per hash or whatever. So.
Now, I don't know what a modern ASIC is mining hashes at, but it's like, what, millions? It's a gigahashes? Isn't that how you measure it?
Yeah, let me see Antminer speed here. 13.5 terahashes per second.
That's like a modern ASIC.
Yeah. So
right on. So I'm gonna go ahead and guess that they're gonna be mining until heat death of the universe before they pay for the cost of the Apollo project.
Yeah, no, he says how long it would take to get one block. Let's see, that block. This computer is so slow, it would take about 1 billion times the age of the universe to successfully mine a single Bitcoin block. So, yeah.
Pretty sweet.
But yeah, but the process he goes through to make it work is just like, dude, this is so freaking cool, you know?
No, I watched a bunch of those YouTube videos now of the actual restoration work that they're doing on those computers, and like things like actually like knitting your program code with wire. I mean,
yeah,
the Apollo folks were crazy.
Well, I mean, they were really, you know, they're remarkable. You know, that's all. You know, it's just to try to cram this thing into the 70-pound block that they did a lot of really neat stuff.
And you know, tempering the energy draw for it too. I mean, it's amazing what they did.
And you know, he says in the article, it's like it had 101 different inputs and outputs for different parts of the spacecraft to control, you know, whether it's the engines or the control surfaces, that kind of thing. But yeah,
I mean, that's really kind of like, I feel like in a lot of ways the Apollo project was like a physical equivalent of like 90s internet, where everything was just held together by duct tape and you're just sort of hoping that it all works.
Well, I wouldn't agree, because you know, if you look at how they had redundant systems and how, I mean, sure, the early Apollos, especially the one that blew up, Grissom and the rest, you know, it's like you look back at it now and you're like, I can't believe they had a high oxygen environment with a bunch of sparking electronics. What were they freaking thinking, right? But you know, by the time 11 went up and 10 went up. I mean, 10 went up and just did translunar injection. 11 went up, they actually landed. It's like they're really iterative in their development, and I think it was
those must have been some weird scrums.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, right. Yeah, you know, but
no, just there's a lot of this stuff that you read about it though, and like all of those welds and stuff being done by hand, there's so much like everything about those things was like a custom crafts project that, you know, you don't really get the parts back when it goes wrong.
Yeah, well, you also have to think about how politically and sort of patriotic that whole thing was as well, you know.
Yeah, we had to do it, otherwise the Russians were gonna, you know.
Exactly. Like it'd be weird, you know. The entire United States wasn't behind the internet like that. You know what I mean? It's a very unique project.
Yeah, I mean, the internet was really a side effect.
I wish we would have something like that actually, like, I don't know. I mean, today's now yesterday was the anniversary of the last shuttle launch, and we can talk for hours about how, you know, the shuttle launch, you know, the shuttle program went off the rails for all of its various reasons. But what is NASA doing that anybody gives a crap about anymore? You know, and like as a kid, I had space shuttle posters on my wall, and like I would learn about Apollo stuff, and that stuff was inspiring.
I think you're forgetting about Space Force,
also
and our upcoming trips to Mars. So.
Yeah, it's just now the private sector is going to be doing everything. We're going to be mining asteroids and going to Mars and launching Teslas into space.
So I have to be honest with you. I really want to defend NASA, but I'm having a hard time. Like, you know, ISS existed for the shuttle to have a place to go. The shuttle existed to go to the ISS. And it's like, you know, the ISS, I mean, you know, could that science really not be done on Earth? I hate to, you know, but it's like, yeah, anyway.
It's a whole thing, man. If you're not going forward, you're going backwards. So just going back and forth to the space station is not going forward. That's why my kids don't care. Like if I see a rocket launch like that, like there's going to be a rocket launching and I see it on Twitter, I tune in and watch that thing. I want to see a rocket go up. It's cool.
Yeah,
but like I know that it's just going to low Earth orbit and it's put some stupid satellite up that I don't care anymore. And
now the ground they're breaking is stuff like financial efficiency, reusability issues. No one gives a shit about that, right? I mean, we're still making progress. It's just not sexy progress, you know.
Yeah. Innovation, not invention.
Yeah. I don't know. I hope that they do something cool with it. But I mean, the like you said, the internet is a tangent that spins off of 60s era space tech. This
really
the
more ICBM paranoia, but yeah.
microprocessor, the ICBM. But I mean, there's a lot. I mean, you can make a pretty good case that that America is only in its place that it is today because our factories didn't get bombed out in World War II, and then we went to space. Those two things are such monumental things, and the internet is the only equivalent in the last 20 years, and now
and the next thing will be what, fusion, actual proper profitable net positive fusion.
like that.
I mean,
hey, I got one last thing. Red Hat and IBM, man, it's done.
Yeah, they're married.
Yep,
they're stuck.
That is the end of an era.
So inside IBM, and I mean, it is the end of an era. Inside IBM, they used to have this rule where you could do anything for 5 years, but then you had to track it directly to customer profit, profit from a customer. And so I remember when they did their first round of that with Linux, and then they hit the 5-year mark, and suddenly they had to say, okay, this customer is using Linux here, and that part of the profit comes back to us here. And I wonder if they still do that under Rometty, But yeah,
it's a sad day, I guess. Maybe.
But it was also $34 billion, which
I mean,
it's a lot.
Don't you think Red Hat? I mean, that is a fully corporate flavor of Linux anyway. It's not that there was nothing about Red Hat that was like, ooh, they're the little guy anymore.
That's true.
Yeah, for sure. But
they were the last of that era, I guess.
Yeah, they really were.
I mean, there's Debian just had Buster come out last week, which I would only care about because I need it to be ported to the Raspberry Pi 4. But that's the only reason that I'm even caring about that now.
Yeah. Are you still using MacBooks, Rob?
I have. I'm streaming live from a 9-year-old MacBook.
Okay. Yeah.
There's just no reason to upgrade.
I'm feeling nostalgic. That's what this look is. I apologize to you.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes. The good old days, man. When Red Hat and VA and Andover were actually going to be something.
We're going to be a contender. I just remember sitting in Red Hat's cafeteria, and talking with people there. And yeah, it was good times. I wonder what Donnie Barnes is up to today. It's like, because he sort of famously, was he didn't rage quit or anything, but he was like, listen, I'm out. I'm going to go on my farm and retire or whatever. And all you Linux people are crazy. Yeah, I mean, he didn't say it. I mean, it was more nuanced than that. But yeah, it was good. I miss Don. I follow him on Twitter. We follow each other, and I'm like, "Hey, Donnie said something," So yeah.
One of these days, I'll dump the story of Red Hat and Slashdot. That'll be a good one.
I mean, it's so old now. Like, most people don't even know who the hell Bob Young is, except for he's some Canadian sports ball owner.
Wasn't he a Scientologist?
No, he wasn't a Scientologist. You want to get sued again by the?
Never mind that what you might see if you read less reputable.
This is the worst meme. Like, it's so mean. But Bob Young, he bought a like a minor league hockey team.
Yeah, good on him.
Owner. No, what did he buy? He bought Hamilton Tiger Cats of the Canadian Football League.
Oh, it's back to cats.
Yeah, I know.
We've come full circle now.
I love that it's called the Tiger Cats, and they call them the Tie Cats when they're contracting it.
All right, boys. I think it's time for us to wrap this up. Go about our days. Go be mature, contributing members of society.
I'm just amazed that there's a Canadian Football League. Is this like soccer football or?
No, it's real football.
It's
real American football.
No, there's no way this is American football. It plays at Tim Hortons Field. There's no more Canadian.
No, they have different rules. I can't remember exactly. Maybe it's only 3 downs or instead of 4. I can't remember. There's a few minor rule changes, but
listen, this is soccer. This is clearly soccer. It's talking about soccer stuff and playing soccer as a kid. I mean, this is a soccer team.
Well, you guys all go see Spider-Man, so next time we can
We
like
talk
talk
about
off the last 5 minutes of the phone call and do like a spoiler discussion.
All right.
'Cause I want to talk about a couple of things.
Okay, well, did we miss anything else? We got Buster, the Sarah Online story. We've posted that on Slashdot like 15 years ago, dude.
No, this is retrospective. It's Digital Antiquarian, man.
Yeah, it's
I do like Digital Antiquarian. He is.
Did you all talk about Mad Magazine? Because
very
that sort of struck home for me.
Me too, man. I had my grandpa had Mad magazines in his house. I remember folding those stupid things up when I was a kid because there's nothing else to do at Grandpa's house.
Well, you saw the New York Times did a folding crossword last week, as a homage.
I remember when it was still sort of subversive. I mean, not really, but in my childlike mind, it was like,
I used to have the collections, the book collections. And, they were so good, man. And the ones that were done during the Vietnam or Vietnam War, they're just like tear the paint off the walls inside. Just like so.
It's the same thing as National Lampoon. If you consolidate, 4 or 5 years worth of material into one tight thing, they're really good.
Yeah. All right. Well, we should wrap it.
All right, folks. I'm going to put the slide up while you guys say your goodbyes.
Goodbye.
See you on Thursday.
Yeah. See ya.
Okay, folks. This has been episode 360 of Geeks in Space. Thanks to Rob, Nate, and Chris, and to all of our fine listeners. Please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button, tweet, share. We don't have a Patreon, but pretend
turn the join knob on Taco Zone.
That's right. Yeah,
Leave us a 5-star review in iTunes, even though we're not listed there.
Pull the lever on Yelp.
And I click the button